Hey,
Good evening, everybody. We
wake up.
made it to prime time, baby. Oh, you must have been. Hey,
You're a beauty, aren't you?
prime time.
You
I'm
made it.
talking
Yeah, they
prime time.
finally let us do this now, right? That's what you're gonna say? They let us on prime time finally?
I always wanted to go up against, the big boys, right? We're up against the Jays tonight. We're up against basketball. Hey,
Is Schitt's Creek on tonight? Because they're the big
oh,
name right now, right? They're
they're,
the
they're out celebrating still.
yeah.
Uh, well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Fishing Canada Live. This is going to be a bit of an experiment for us tonight. We were told by people who know a lot more about this than we do that the best time to be doing this show is in the evenings. And they also said the best evening to do it is on Tuesday. So
You know
here
why
we are.
said that? Because they get Friday nights out of the question. It's over. I'm not even coming in here on a Friday night. Piss on that.
Exactly. So it's going to be a bit of a format change. It's going to be more, a little more formal, if you will, in the sense that we will have segments in the show. Much for those of you
A little more structured.
structured.
Not a little more formal, because I don't want people to think this is going to be a formal thing where we can't say what we want to say. Because if we want to say something, I'm going to say something, right? So let's say it's more structured. How's that? Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to just,
All right. So a little more structured, Mr. Bowman, because God forbid should we ask you to be a little more formal.
Okay, I'll bring in my tuxedo next live, and then we'll have a formal going on then. Okay. I can swear in a tuxedo just as good as I can swear in anything, buddy. Okay.
All right. So, anyways, a little more structured. It's going to be for those of you who followed the Outdoor Journal radio show. It's going to be a little more like that in that we're going to have several guests on throughout the course of the program. Each one will be there for a specific purpose. They'll have a segment on the show, if you will. But that's where the similarities will stop. It's still going to be very much Pete and I just doing our thing,
Exactly.
And we're hoping that in time we'll be able to do this show from the road. And so on a night like this, you might see us sitting, in a lodge somewhere in front of a fireplace or out on a dock or
smoking a cigar out on the deck. I will.
I can't do that. You're gonna have people now. You're gonna have people writing me saying you shouldn't be doing that.
Well, no, because Angelo was going to be inside saying prayers in the pew, so I'll have a whiskey and a cigar, and Ange can be doing his prayers in there. Okay, so we got the best of all worlds. We got it covered, bud. They can hate me and love you, or vice versa.
We're like I'm trying to stay on focus on.
You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job of it.
So we're going to have the Q&A as normal at the end of the program, like we always have had. Although, by all means, and I'm going to go against the producer on this, but just if you got something to say, if you want to talk to us, just put it up there and talk to us.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we're not going to wait for somebody to say, okay, now can you answer? No, if I see something there that I like, get my attention. Write something like Calvin always does.
Calvin always gets your attention. There's no doubt about that.
I love Calvin, man.
I know you do. Calvin's entertaining.
So before we move farther, one of the things that we've changed in terms of the positioning of it, it will be the weekly poll, the Fishing Canada poll, which is now closed. And we have the results. I understand the boys are looking to put the results up on the screen, I hope. Anyways, the question was, who had the greatest influence in your pursuit of fishing? A parent, childhood friend, or a fishing personality? 69% parent.
I think, yeah. I would have guessed that one for sure on the parent one. The other two, I wasn't sure about how that was going to go, and not just because you and I are fishing personalities or whatever like that. Because I know I had some strong influences in that world, but my dad was definitely mine, number one. And all my buddies that I know, they all got started with their parents or their dad taking them fishing out a lot, right? So I kind of had a feeling on that one. But
yeah, it's nice to see though that we're no different than everybody else. That's 1,000 people, by the way, 947 people. That's a big poll, and 69% had a parent start them. And wouldn't it be great to be able to talk to those 1,000 people at some point? I don't know how we would ever do it.
You're doing it right now.
Well, to have them give us just a short story about the very first time they remember fishing with that parent.
Well, maybe we could set something up for that. Maybe Mikey can give an email address or something like that. I don't know if we want to get bombarded with all that stuff, but you know what? It might be nice to have pick out a good story or two. You know what I mean? So
anyways,
we figured out.
Now.
What about you? I said me. I said me. You didn't say you.
What about me?
Well, how'd you get in fishing? Did an ant come over and pick you up and carry you over to the lake? How did you get in fishing?
What the hell's an ant? What the hell's an ant got to do with anything?
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to my head.
Yeah, like I'm trying to do a serious show here. Now you throw an ant, my aunt. God bless her, by the way. Aunt Lucia, wonderful woman. But
Sister Roselia, did Sister Roselia take you fishing?
I do use that story, but and obviously it can't be 100% true. I mean, the story's true, but I say that she was my greatest inspiration. But I was fishing way before she started giving me the strap.
Exactly.
I don't know. I wish I could say the same thing, that it was my dad, but it wasn't. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't my dad. It was the strangest thing. Now, it was my dad in the sense that he took us to places where we could fish, but he never fished with us. As a kid, I think I told you that story. He used to. My dad worked night and day. Obviously, he was a new immigrant and needed to feed the family and all that stuff. But I recall that he was always at work except for Sunday mornings. And Sunday mornings was our day to go to Buteley on the southern shore of Rice Lake.
Yeah.
And we drive up in a Robin's Egg 1952 Chevy. I'll never forget that car. It was the best. And yes, we used to ride. For not only did we not have seatbelts, but my brother and I would take turns riding on the back of the back seat on that. Right?
Where the window is there?
Yeah. That was cool.
My dad, we used to go on holidays, and we'd go all the way up to Fort Francis from Southern Ontario. My dad would put a piece of plywood in the back seat. We'd all just lay down and sleep on this piece of plywood like we were camping all the way up. Talking about no seat belts. You had a pillow, a sleeping bag. You just sleep for 16 or 20 hours, whatever it was. So anyway, that's funny.
But yeah, so he'd take us up Sunday mornings to Rice Lake. And the same place where the launch ramp is now in Buteley, I think it's called Buckeye.
I'm not even sure. There's two of them in Buteley right now, but I don't know.
It's right there. As soon as you get into it's the most southerly point.
The first corner. As soon as you go in, yeah, he's still there. That's changed hands a bunch of times, but he's still there. Yeah.
But that used to be a great little bait and tackle shop.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember they had an old freezer. An old freezer that was dug down into the ground, and it was full of minnows. That's where they kept their minnows, and they had a screen door hinged on it. So they opened this creaky old screen door, and you hear this. They scoop out the minnows for you and put them in a bag, and off you went. But that's where I got the bug. Big brother Reno and I were there every Sunday, and Mom and Dad would just sit in the car, in the old 52 Chevy. And they would probably, communicate and connect and do what adults do when the kids aren't around.
Was it daylight or was it nighttime?
It was daytime. And we were allowed to run anywhere we wanted on those docks in Buteley.
That's awesome.
And we'd have the bobber and the minnow or worms, and we would fish to our heart's content. And that's really what got us going. Yeah, in fact, it wasn't until my early teens that I started taking Dad out fishing. My dad out fishing. And then once that started, it was like every night we'd go out local streams and creeks and whatnot and fish. So It's very interesting, but it does my heart well to see that it was a parent that influenced everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure. By the way, I didn't expect a recital of War and Peace when I asked you that question. Okay, it was just.
Well, then don't ask me any questions.
Obviously, I'm not going to ask you any more questions. Then, okay.
Don't ask me any questions. Go ahead. You do the damn show. I'll just sit here and listen to you.
It was a good story. It was a good story. I liked it. But hey, are you sponsored? Don't be lifting that stuff and showing the camera that stuff if you're not sponsored by that yet. Okay. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Sebo.
So, anyways, apparently, how that whole thing started. I was in the midst of telling you that one of the things that have changed. We do not know now what the next poll is. Normally, we would talk about it on the show, and then you guys would have all week to go. Well, apparently, that has been taken away from us. We're not allowed to tell you because we don't even know what the next poll is going to be.
Tomorrow they can find out though on the website, correct? And our Facebook pages, social pages. The new poll starts. So, and then we will find out as well as the lovely audience. So we won't be in the dark very long.
As we mentioned, a lot of new exciting segments are going to come on the program. A lot of the old boys who've been working with us for years are going to be on the show. Each one's going to have their segment, and as we go, it's going to kind of move and shift. It is very organic in nature, so don't expect to have anything like locked in stone. But we're going to try different things. One of the things that we're going to do is the very first segment of the show is going to be one that we're very familiar with, and that is a little fish talk.
Tea time. That's what I want to talk about today, folks. Transition periods, transition from spring to summer, summer to fall. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. Those transitions are often spread over 2 or 3 weeks. And the reason why, take the spring to summer, maybe in the summer the weeds haven't fully developed yet. So you find the fish generally where they're leaving, where they're heading to, and somewhere in between. You can find them spread out over great distances. Anytime that happens, throw fast-moving horizontal baits. The other thing is, if you've got a favorite trolling pattern, transitions, that's when trolling comes into its own.
Nicely done. Hey, Doc, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
You know what? Every time. Okay, that piece right there I've seen with Gord Pfizer. I've probably seen it about 38 times, and I still just sit here and watch it every time. Just glued and listening. Well done, Gordy. Good to have you, man.
Always fun, hey, boys?
Yeah.
Welcome to our new world, my friend. Hopefully, how long did we do Outdoor Journal Radio together? How many? Do you know how many years? Because I never checked it, but it's been a while. A lot. Well, hopefully we'll do the same with this. It's really exciting to have you on the program, and I know the audience has been waiting for this announcement. So, first of all, how are you doing with? We've been off radio now for, I guess, I'm going to say 6 weeks. I think. How are you coping with that?
I've got Saturdays free. The other thing, I'm an hour behind you, so I'm on Central Time.
Right.
So it used to didn't tie me up, but I'd have the truck running in the garage. I'd often have the boat, and Liam would be sitting out there, and I'm doing radio. Now I don't have, and now I've got Saturdays totally free. So
yeah, it's a weird feeling, man. For me, I've been doing the show 28 years, and out of those 28 years, I'm going to venture to guess that I missed a dozen shows. Yeah. And so that means that my Saturdays were when I wasn't. The only reason I missed those, by the way, Pete and I would be out shooting a Fishing Canada episode, and we couldn't make it back in time, or we had to leave early. But what I was going to say to you, the weirdest thing about it, yes, it's nice not having to get up early Saturday morning. I agree. But you know what really is different now is my Sundays. Because it's actually 2 days in a row now. By Sundays now, it's 2 days that I've been away from work, and my head just is going crazy. It's just weird. Sundays are the weirdest things for me right now.
What about Liam, Gord? Does Liam go to university or school, or what does he do?
Oh man, I've lost my netman, Pete.
Oh really?
He took off for St. Lawrence College in Kingston.
Wow. Okay.
on Labor Day. So
Okay.
Labor Day, I'm on my own. And honest truth, this is the honest truth. The last thing we did, he rigged up a system for me. So when I go out muskie fishing with the giant net, because he always netted the fish or I'd net his, now he rigged a system up with a line that I can put in the rod locker that I wrap around the end of the net and keep it over the side of the boat so I can work on the fish when I'm fishing along.
I love it. You know what I use for that? You might want to think about this is the sandbags that they use for lighting. Our lights here now, they lay a big, heavy, double-sided sandbag over it. You plop it over the handle of the net, and it will not go anywhere.
Oh, wow. That's a good idea, Pete.
They're about $40, $30, something like that. Not even that, maybe $20 to get a cheap one. It works perfect. So
will it hold up a 40-pound muskie?
It'll hold up. It'll hold up me, Gordy, if I jump in. I'm only 50 pounds, but that's okay.
Well, that's what I'm hoping to catch, Pete.
Let's get on to the subject matter, because this is a fascinating one. Of course, it's the perfect time of year to be talking about transitioning fish. I put a blog up about a month and a half ago about seasonal transitions and where you're apt to locate these fish. So this is perfect. It's going to work out really great. Talk to us about this piece that we just saw.
Angie, we couldn't time this perfectly. I was out on the weekend, and I just have my iPad here. This is from the weekend.
Nice.
And,
nice.
Wow. But here's the big but. Transition time. And we always think of transition, we think summer and now it's fall. But they don't just go from summer here to fall there. It is that filtering out. And you guys are stealing my next blog for Ontario tourism because the way I caught these, I was sharp shooting. And it's one of my favorite ways to fish on transitions. Is if you go out looking for heavy concentrations of fish, often you can't find them. So I go out for crappies. This is one of my favorite little crappie lakes. I get there, turn on the sonar, and I'm traveling around the lake. Ooh, one fish here, one fish over there, one fish there. And honest truth, in 2 hours of looking around, I couldn't find a single concentration. I knew where they were coming from. I know where they're going to, but it's a slow process. So there's one here, two there, and I love it. And so what I was doing, got the motor on as slow as I possibly can. I was in a little tiller handle with a 20-horse Merc on, and I'm actually back trolling as well, so I could go really slow. So when I found them, so I'm forward trolling. Oh, there's one. I turn the boat right around, circle, back troll, hover right over top. I got my rod in my hand, fire it right over. Jig it a cup. Oh, I got him.
Wow. I have never heard of anybody fishing for single crappie before in my life.
It's one of the most favorite. I almost don't like. It's too easy when you get on those big concentrations. You just
how deep are they, Gord?
Pardon me?
How deep are they sitting, those fish?
You know what, Pete? They were in, I'll say 28 to 27 foot.
Really?
But they're doing two things. They're dropping down and they're moving out. And I don't think I ever saw more than two fish together, maybe three fish. And I was using heavy baits. That's one of the real keys.
Yeah.
You can't just throw over a little tiny 1/32 ounce jig in 27 feet of water while you're, it flutters all over and you're off the mark.
Yes.
So believe it or not, I was fishing the smallest jigging wraps, and I was fishing the Acme baits, the Hyperglide. So, really heavy, compact baits on 6-pound test line. So I just flip it over the side of the boat, go straight down, and you jig it. Got him. And then as soon as you get them, either let them go or I kept a couple for dinner, but then you motor on, you keep looking. Oh, there's another one. Swing the boat around, flip out, work it. If you don't get a bite in 4 or 5 minutes, keep moving. There's another one. And it's deadly in the fall. I mean, the best fishing still to come when they bunch up and concentrate.
I was going to ask you about that, Gordon. How long a period now are we looking at while there's, stragglers? When are they going to start congregating?
You know, and usually mid-October is the best for crappies. We're doing the same thing actually for smallmouth and walleyes. They're a little tighter right now, but I love doing it for walleyes. When the going is tough for walleye, and you guys know this, you'll often be going across an area. There's two there, and I mean, we're to the stage now. You don't ever stop until you see fish. That is the number one rule. And as another general rule, you don't stop for one or two fish. We're always looking for a nice. But you know what? If you can't find them, pick apart those ones you do find. But it does rely on light line, lighter than normal lines, and heavier than heavier jigs and presentation.
Get it down there quick. Yeah. Why are these fish? Why are they single right now, Gord? Because they get together in the spring. They big schools and massive schools, even in the summer. And then all of a sudden, they're spreading out now by the singles. What is the reason?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Pete. I think on smallmouth, the real key, the driver on smallmouth, and Mark Ridgway. Mark's done all his work in Opiongo at the Harkness Research Lab. This is really fascinating. They move every year within 2 days of every single year on the fall equinox. It's like sparrows returning, swallows returning to Capistrano. They come every year at the same time, and it's photo periods. And it's not water temperature like most anglers think, because some years we'll have water temperature, 69, 68. The next year it'll be 62. 1 year warmer, another. It's photo period. And the other thing with smallmouth, and I think to a degree crappies, and I think to a degree crayfish as well, walleyes as well. The crayfish molt right now. And when the crayfish molt on the fall equinox, they hide. And all of a sudden the fish are going, "Ooh, geez, where's all that food?" And it's totally Mother Nature's way of telling the fish to start moving out, transition out, and start switching over to bait fish. And that's what they're doing. And that's why we see a few fish over here, few fish over there. Some are getting out to those fall locations sooner. Others are still on the summer spots because there's crayfish and food there. So they're all kind of scattered.
Yeah, that transition period is kind of interesting. We tell people all the time, the best place, you can't find all this all at once. You have to find all these little pieces as you progress through the year. But once you understand where they are in the spring, where they're going to be in, where they're wintering down, the pathway is pretty clear. It might not be perfect. You're not going to find, like you just said, 100 fish, but you will find one or two fish moving down that highway to the wintering area every day. And that's the fun part about it.
And the other thing, Ange, for fish like walleyes, smallmouth, northerns, muskies as well, if you know where they were and you know where they're going, look for the best structure and cover in between, and that's the highway. It's not like they take a straight line. They might only move a quarter of a mile, half a mile, depending on the lake. In bigger lakes like Lake of the Woods here, they move long, big distances. But as a general point, it's relatively mediocre distances. But if you find those things in between, so largemouth bass. The largemouth are pulling out of those back bays right now. They're cooling down quickly. Our water temperature has dropped 1 degree a day for the last 14 days. We went from 74 to 60 in 14 days. Wow. Those smallmouth, we know where they're going. They're coming out of the ends of those back weedy bays. And right now, those secondary points are on fire. Secondary points and tertiary points, and they're the ones furthest back in the bays. And in another 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they'll be right out on the primary points. So don't jump out to the primaries. Look at everything in between.
Tell us about those secondary points. Don't skip over that. I think that's a really important piece of information.
Yeah, if you were largemouth fishing right now, Mike Iaconelli, I always remember Mike came up here probably 10, 12 years ago. And back in the heyday of Bassmaster. And anyway, Mike's up. And a friend of mine was guiding him. And they were looking for largemouth. And they went back into a bay, and my buddy, who's a guide, had taken them back in, and they weren't at the end of the bay. I mean, a summer location. It's now September, October. And they started fishing with swim jigs, pretty fast swim jigs, just a jig with a soft plastic krill, but swimming it out, and they were hitting the secondary and tertiary points. So when people, what is a tertiary or a secondary point? We all know what that primary point, that's the one that leads into the bay. But if you look really carefully, and sometimes those secondary, tertiary points, they're only 5, 10 feet, little extra indentation out. And they're deadly at this time of the year because the smallmouth are just slowly slipping out to the primary points, and they stop at the tertiary, and then the water cools down a little more. We know they're heading to the primary, and you always want to keep checking the primary. And many, many days you will catch fish there. They're the early arrivers. But the primary points get better and better and better. But the tertiary and the secondary are deadly right now. They become the best spots to fish. Another week or two.
Why are they deadly, Gordy? Is it bait sitting on those points as well, or what? Why is it? Or is it just a spot where they're in their minds and okay, here's my move, and then there's my move later? What's the?
Yeah, Pete, I think it's part of that filtering process. They know where they're heading to, they know where they want to go, and they've been way back in those back bays, all summer long, and they know they're going to winter on that primary point, and they're following the shoreline. But as they follow that shoreline, here's a nice little secondary, tertiary rocky point. It's got a few crayfish on it. Hasn't really been probably hit by fish all year long. And so there's perch hovering around. There's probably emerald shiners, a few weeds. They pick those off, and they just keep filtering out towards that primary point. But, it's Pete, it's like all the folks down in your neck of the woods that are leaving Toronto on the weekend, heading up to the Muskokas or Haliburtons. They're driving up 401 or 400, and they stop at every, those highway rest stops. And that's what the secondary point is, and that's what the tertiary.
Oh, that's a great analogy. I like that.
They're highway rest spots.
They're you don't want to live and die on them. You want to get in there, check it out, and get out. Don't hang in there all day long.
And sorry to interrupt, but you just made a phenomenal point. The one thing about fall, keep moving. Move. Yeah. Do not wait for the fish to come to you.
Yeah. Okay, so before I let you go, because we might not touch this subject again for God knows how long. So once they get to the primary point, this is their drop-off point. From here on in, it's winter, home wintering areas.
Yeah.
How long do these points stay hot? Because they can be on fire. I mean, if you hit it right, they're just absolutely on fire. How long does it last, and what triggers that?
Those primary points will last until freeze up. They truly. Now you might have to change techniques because of water temperature, but those fish aren't leaving. With smallmouth, it's even crazier. The smallmouth they home for life. So if you've caught, and I almost hate continuing to say this to folks, but if you have an underwater hump or a rock pile or a point where you have caught them in the past, they will be there. They will not leave. They home for life. Mark has his census is over 100 years old, the longest continuous census of an animal population on Earth. And They are still in the fall where their great grandparents were 100 years ago. And that's the downside. You can actually burn them out.
Yeah, exactly.
They will not leave. Yeah. One other real quick point, guys, if folks are fishing for smallmouth, do not live well them and move them. We see so many people on social media and they like to live well their best 5 fish, and then at the end of the day, they hold them up and get a photo. And then they release them and say, well, I released them, they're in great shape. Smallmouth home, and they winter on a particular spot that they're faithful to for life. And once you move them, they stop feeding. And they will do everything in their power to find that winter home range, and they will not eat until they find it. So if they go into the winter and they haven't found it, we replicated Mark's work here on Lake of the Woods. 50% of the smallmouth were dead next spring because they spent all their energy looking for home.
How far was that, Gord? How far was that release point from the capture point?
Really good question, Pete, because the closer you do it, the better. And that's why we always say to folks, for sure, you can live well them if you want a few pictures, but then don't take them from where you caught them.
Right.
And let them go right there. The further you go, the more you're risking it can't find home. And the more you're risking, it will spend the rest of the fall looking for home and not eating. And smallmouth are like bears. If they haven't gained enough nourishment going into the winter, they starve to death they do not feed.
Wow. I've had two things in my mind I got to ask Gordy. I'm sorry, but I got to do this. To do with all this, the secondary points. If there's a bay, if the bay is shaped like that, right there, and this is the shallow side of the bay. If there's no points and there's an island in the middle coming out of the bay, can you consider that a point or not?
Absolutely, Pete. Structure and cover always rules. Okay. So anything, it's so funny because we actually have, and I've taken folks there when we're fishing. I'll go, see that secondary point? And they'll go, secondary, I don't see any point there. But a point could be just 8-10 feet it's just an indentation that goes out a little further. Yeah. And when you look in the water, there's a few extra boulders, and boulders are key. If you find those boulders on those secondary points, you flip in there, pitch in there, swim a jig.
Murder.
Crazy.
Now, one more quick thing, Viola. Stop it. There's no commercial break. Don't worry about it. One last thing, very quickly. I was out on the weekend, and this has happened to me 2 years ago, and it happened to me again Saturday. The largemouth bass, I'm catching largemouth bass in 1.5 to 2 feet of water, and big ones. Nice, and they're active as hell. They're not out in that deeper, they're not in the points yet. This is a shallow flat. It's 60-degree water, 61-degree water temperature. Is that normal? Or like you said, I didn't get them when they went to shallows. This place I went to, wow. It was really shallow.
The interesting thing, though, Pete, I'll virtually guarantee on those weed beds, and this is really cool question. I actually won a fall tournament here. It was September, it was right at the end of September, early October, several years ago. And we won it actually on big largemouth. And we were in a really large bay with all kinds of like beaver indentations. And you could take the boat away back. Virtually every one of those fish had pulled out to the outside edge. Okay. So you could go back in, and they're doing exactly what we're talking about. But the gigantic weed beds, consider that a bay in itself, right? Almost in and of itself. And so they've now worked out to the edge of those weeds. And now when you find little points, you don't find the bass all evenly around the edge of that outside leather leaf and floating bog. They're always on those little points, little inside turn kind of things. And the next move, tertiary point, secondary point, primary.
Okay.
That's worth the price of admission.
For sure. And then some. And then some.
Great to have you back on board, Gordy. We look forward to hooking up with you on a regular basis. We're still, in the process of learning this whole webcasting thing. So we'll keep you informed as to when and where. I'm sure Sarah's got you on speed dial now.
Well, it's fun, guys. And as I was thinking as we were doing this, we should chat maybe in advance, and we could draw out diagrams and
absolutely.
Be a riot. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Gordon, we'll let you go, my friend. You have yourself a wonderful week, and leave some of those fish for some of the other people around there, please.
I'm going crappie, walleye, and smallmouth fishing within 2 hours.
Of course you
Nice. See you, Gord. Have fun, buddy.
Be good, boys.
are. Oh man, I love that guy. And
He is the best.
is it possible to have a man crush on another fisherman?
I have one on you. I've had one my whole life. On
That's
you.
different. I mean, we're almost related. We're almost related. It's beyond.
We're kinfolk. Yeah, he's so awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I wish. The only thing I don't like about Gord Pizer is that he lives 1,000 miles away from us, because I want to fish with that guy, you know, so often. It's just, I mean, as I'm sure everybody on this list beside us, you and I and everybody on this list included, is all would love to share a boat with Gordy. I mean, it'd be a fun time.
I forgot to mention for the folks who might not be familiar with Gordy, he's in Kenora, Ontario. I mean, truly God's country. And he spent 18 years of his life working for the Ministry of Natural Resources. He was a program manager up in that area for years. And a lot of the fishing programs that we now use, and I'm talking fish management programs, Gordy initiated. So he goes way back.
For sure. You know what a great playground for him to learn on too, because let's be honest, folks, Ange and I and Gord Pizer and Roland Martin and everybody out there are still in the learning process. You do that as an angler, you do that till the day you die, no matter how old you are. Gord Pizer is in the perfect playground for that. I mean, at the Lake of the Woods, just his own lake is probably the best all-round lake in the world. Okay, for all species. I mean, I'm going to, people think, oh, no way. But you think about it. For all species, Lake of the Woods is one of the best in the world. And then he's got all the other little lakes, all in this northern Ontario region there, northwest Ontario. He's just loaded with fishing opportunities. He never has to leave the area.
I forgot to ask him. Maybe you can make a note, because I'll forget again. Ask him if he notices a difference now without the American anglers going on up to Lake of the Woods, because I mean that's close to. At one time I had the number. I think it was something like 28 million Americans are within a stone's throw of Lake of the Woods. And it's bizarre, the population that is just south of that lake. And they come up and use it.
Lake of the Woods is
Americans
partially in
Lake
the
of
U.S., is it not? So they can't access even the bottom end of it, but it's so big, right? It's such a massive body of water. So that's a good. But you know what? You and I will forget. So maybe Calvin or one of our people over here are going to remind us to remind Gord of the question, okay? Because
before we get on to our next segment, I just want to. I've got some notes here I've got to go over. First of all, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I see we've got not only the usual suspects, but we've got truly a national audience with us tonight from coast to coast, which is really great to see. And it's great. I mean, it's great because it's the Fishing Canada show, but it's great because it's wonderful to see how connected people are through fishing. And if there's one thing that we can hold on to through these incredibly challenging times that we're having, it's fishing. And it's just great to see here on a Tuesday night that folks are
we would love to have,
if
you could share this right now, if you just where you're on right now, just share it on your page and other people will join in. We get more people joining in. Somebody's going to give a great question here sometime in this bit or later on, and it could pertain to you too. So please share as much as you can for our sake as well. Let's big.
Our good friend Dan Gibbons is on with us tonight. On there. The folks at Hay Lake, right? I said that before. Hawk Lake Lodge are with us as well. Just great to have you with us. A couple of quick things. I noticed that Doug was asking earlier on, when the doc was on with us, if there was an update on the 2-rod carp situation, and I'm sad. I'm sad to say that there is not yet. I mean that sincerely, because maybe I'm a little naive. I don't know, but generally when a top level politician says it's a no-brainer, there's no reason in the world why we can't have a 2-rod carp fishery here in Ontario. Generally, when they say that, you kind of like to think that that's going to get done, right? but they're finding it a little more challenging, apparently.
What are the hurdles? Have you
To
heard
get it
anything about the
passed.
hurdles
So
of this? Like, what is the?
it's a federal issue. The problem is the Ford government is all for it. They would have it done tomorrow, but when they went to get the final approval from the feds, it got bogged down in mud and
the DFO, or who is that
and the
takes care
usual
of
red tape.
Right.
That would be DFO for sure. Yeah, it's too bad because, as you know, we used to have a great relationship with DFO for years. They were one of our partners on Fishing Canada, and now we've been out of touch with them for years. I don't even know who I would start.
I just
talking
wonder
or
what their reasoning would be. I mean, there's got to be some bizarre little red tape line piece in there that's just is well, we can't do that because of this, and it's so stupid. But whatever.
I wish that I could say to you that it's probably a very solid scientific based reason, etc. But I've been involved with government programs long enough to know that unfortunately science is not necessarily the governing factor when decisions are being made. Most of the times it's about personal wishes and personal preferences and personal philosophies, and it's very, very much personal. So this is a case where I think DFO isn't even whoever's in charge of whoever got that letter, that notice from Ontario Tourism or Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Minister Yakabuski, whoever read that letter and they saw carp 2 rods, probably had absolutely no idea what a carp is and absolutely no idea what a carp fishery is. But it just set up a red flag and enough for them to say, oh, no, we cannot address this at this time. We will let you know when we can talk about it.
It's like the muskie fishery out in New Brunswick, the same idea as that. Look at it, exactly what it is. You know what I mean?
You know what happened in New Brunswick, and you know what's happened there. Enough of those anglers down there said, whoa, wait a minute. Hold it here. I pay the bills, not you. You're using my money. I vote for you. It's my tax dollars that you're using to spend. Start listening to me. And I think in the case of New Brunswick, I think it's starting to work.
I think they are listening. Yeah, it hasn't changed yet, but at least they're being heard for sure. So
also want to comment on another comment that I saw through there from Sam Pate. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that. He says, remember when you guys had dark hair? Well, you're going to see in a few minutes.
Yeah. Later in this little program, and then a little segment we got going on. That's right too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I see Steve Mitzwiki is with us too, by the way.
Stevie.
Have you seen his hairdo lately?
No.
Oh my God.
Really?
I wish I could put those pictures. Stevie, can I put those pictures up? You sent me the other day because they are outstanding. He is not the same guy that we had on our TV show. I'll tell you that right now. He sent me 4 images, and it was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. It was so funny, but I won't put them up because I don't think it's fair to Steve. I think it was a private. I think he sent them to YouTube, buddy. So you probably check your phone just again.
I think you should put them up. I think it's fair game. I think when somebody sends you something, they have to do it knowing full well that that is public domain.
Well, I got something from Rosaletta the other day. I could send that. Oh no, I better not put that one up. Stevie said, "Sure. How can I do that? How can I do this?" Okay, keep talking, Ans. I'm going to see if I can just show my phone maybe to it.
An interesting comment as well from Ron Vanderstern. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. He just got back from a fly-in trip, Nagagami Lake, where he
Nagagami.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's right.
When you quit correcting, I hate it when you correct me.
Well, your wife does. I do. Your whole crew does.
Everybody.
Your daughters do. Everybody does. Maybe you're making a mistake, Mr. Perfect.
And I hate it when everybody corrects me.
I can't find those pictures. Stevie, send them again, by the way, just to let everybody know. Okay.
They caught 328 walleye, 9 pike in 7 days.
Oh my God.
Now I don't know how many guys, but
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many guys. That's a lot of fish.
That lake was very quick story about that lake. We were in a 2-day shoot. I go in one day, hit a hump, and I smash them on top of this hump. These fish are active as hell, active as hell, active as hell. I get a great show done. A cold front comes in, everything changes completely. Answer goes in. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do a show on there too. I'll do something a little different. Like that. Every fish was gone off that one spot. Like, I mean, he might have saw 1 or 2 in the garment and that was it. So then he went out and luckily went out and found the drop off, and all those fish were stacked on the drop off. We learned a valuable lesson there, right? Those fish moved that fast in a day, overnight. They moved that fast. But that lake, that lake is a lesson teacher.
What we learned there too is that they didn't move a million miles away.
Nope.
Right? It was very close.
100 yards, maybe. 100 yards max. Max. That was the bottom of the drop off. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was even better because they were tighter. The bunch was much tighter. So cold fronts are your friend. I've said that a million times.
Yeah. But that's a great lake. Nagagami is a great lake. If anybody's looking, Timberwolf Lodge, beautiful, fantastic fishing. Fantastic. So.
Okay. Oh, one other thing. Hey, this is exciting.
What?
What? We made $5 tonight.
What the hell are you talking about?
We're operating in the black, baby. We made $5. Look at this. Stay Positive gave $5. I guess I didn't even know this was available. He says, "Hey guys, just got back from Rice Lake over the weekend. Landed a bunch of personal best common mirror carp, non-stop action."
Excellent.
But apparently, Stay Positive sent $5 to our YouTube account.
Get the hell out of here!
I'm serious. The guys from the control room just said,
you know what? Next week we're gonna be drinking free coffee, buddy. I'm gonna tell you,
Exactly.
pay for our coffees.
We want to thank you, whoever Stay Positive is. Thank you very much, but not for the $5. Just thank you for being a part of this whole insanity, and thank you.
Absolutely.
What happens apparently if by paying this $5, he gets his comment put in highlighted. You saw the color. It gets highlighted, and YouTube puts it right on their channel.
Well, I'll tell you what, and congratulations to an awesome day of fishing, or 2 days, whatever, however many days it was, to catch that lot of commons and mirror carp on Rice Lake. That's a great day. That's a fantastic outing too. So I'm sure you had a blast. It's no wonder you're staying positive with fishing like that. So cool.
It was also cool while Gord was here. I was reading some of the stuff. A lot of people know Gordy. A lot of
they love him. They love him.
Respect that man has in the industry is unbelievable. And I say that because he does it so honestly. He does it. He's so genuine. What you see is what you get with Gord. He is exactly the same in person as he is here on our show, on our TV show, on radio, or when you meet him at an event. He is exactly that same guy. So
absolutely.
All right.
Time to move on, kid.
All right. Thank you for bringing that.
You're welcome.
Am I on schedule? I'm almost there.
Perfect. You're running like 5 minutes ahead, behind, or on a parallel. Beautiful.
So in the 80s, when we started the Fish in Canada show, in fact, throughout the early 90s, we had a segment on the television program called Fish du Jour. And what would happen is that Pete and I, as we're traveling around the country doing the fishing show, we would find a quirky little, chef somewhere that had a crazy fishing recipe. And
some of them were awesome.
Remember that? And we talked him into doing some stuff for us on camera and cooking this whacked out, recipe. And it became incredibly popular on the Fish in Canada show. But it got so labor intensive and it became so difficult. You almost needed a separate crew when you went out to shoot these things. So we dropped it. But throughout the years, we've always gotten people, every once in a while you get a letter saying, "Hey, whatever happened to Fish du Jour?" Well, guess what, boys and girls? Guess what? You asked for it. We're going to give it to you. We're going to bring back Fish du Jour here on Fish in Canada Live. It's not going to be a weekly thing, but pretty regular. And the host of it is somebody that you may not be familiar with right now. You will be certainly after a few episodes. He has been doing some of his own webcasting, a fishing program called Fish and Fire. Fish and Fire.
Fish and fire.
Fish and fire. Fish and fire. Are you going to correct me, Mr. Bowman? Come on.
No, I like the way you said that.
Fish and fire.
Two ways. It could be fishing, fish and, it could be anything. So good
Fish,
man.
Fishing fire. Anyways, his name is he's an executive chef, and he cooks or prepares food for the stars.
Or big stars, big sports stars, big movie stars, big everybody stars.
His name is Antonio Maleca. Please welcome him to the program, Antonio.
Hey guys, how are you?
Brother?
What's going on, buddy?
That's a big shoe to fill there. I like the setup.
Right on.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We just got wrapped up for tonight. We're working on a few new movie sets. We're back to work now, which is good. It's going to be busy. It's going to be a busy year. You know, there's so much stuff happening. You know, everyone's been binge watching TV, so there's so much material that needs to be made. So we've been off for 4 or 5 months now. But you know, things are starting to come back, which is good. And we're getting excited. We're getting excited to get back to work and feed the celebrities in Toronto, and it's exciting.
On these movies you're working on right now, just drop a couple names of stars. Is there any big stars in these movies that you're working with right now?
Yeah, there's lots of big stars. I mean, we do Star Trek Discovery. If there's any Trekkies out there, we've been feeding Star Trek Discovery since it started 3 years ago, and it's a huge Star Trekkie. And we're doing Umbrella Academy, which was one of the biggest shows on Netflix when it.
That's awesome. That show is awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a good show, and we're doing an Amazon show called The Boys, which
That looks great.
Wow.
that show's been advertised for season 2. They've already shot season 2, but because of what's happening with COVID and stuff, we're kind of delayed. So we're going to be starting that in January, and. Of course, Schitt's Creek, we fed them for since 2017, just cleaned up 7 Emmys.
Nice.
So it was a pleasure cooking for that crew and cast for the last few years. So it's busy. Things are starting to come back, but you know, I've cooked for people like, you know, Lenny Kravitz, to drop a name, and Olivia Newton-John, and you know, I can name so many. I'm starting to get a little freeze in my brain now, but. It's crazy. I mean, you would be shocked on how much stuff is filmed here in Toronto. And one thing that most A-list celebrities and cast say is how wonderful the food is here in Toronto, and how diverse the you know, the different. I mean, you can get anything in Toronto, or you know, into the GTA area, from Thai food to Indian food to Italian, Mediterranean. So. You know, we're very diverse with our cooking, and a lot of the celebrities and a lot of the even athletes, pro athletes, when they come here, we take care of them. They love the food, and it really shows how hard we work, and it just helps bring business back to our city. And a lot of the Americans, a lot of the U.S. Actors and actresses, you know, love it here. So we're always, you know, we always have to have our game face on and make sure that that, you know, one bad meal can screw it all up. So we're always on point.
Nice.
All right. So now let's talk about Antonio, the whacked out crazy angler that I know and love. For folks who aren't familiar with him, as I said before, he did. Well, tell us about the program that you were doing.
Well, we did a show called Celebrity Fish and Fire, and it was a great show. It filmed in the States on the Sportsman Network. And we did probably about 10 episodes, and it was great. The whole thing was taking a celebrity, whether it was an athlete, a UFC fighter, you know, we had baseball players, hockey players, NFL players, and it was getting them out of their comfort zone. And most of these athletes, their passion is fishing. So it was great to take them on their off season out on the water with my co-host Sean DeGagne, who is a pro. Used to play in the NHL as well for the New York Rangers, and he owns a cap up on Lake Nipissing. And we came together, and we were taking these celebrities out fishing, and you know, it was amazing interacting with them, talking sports, and seeing how some of these guys were unbelievable fishermen. Chris Tillman, just to drop a name, he's a pitcher with the Orioles. This guy was sponsored by Ranger, and when he came onto the boat, it was incredible to see him fish. And we went all over the place in the States, from the Florida Keys to Louisiana, a little bit of stuff here in Northern Ontario as well. And the best part of the show is we would take whatever we caught and I would prepare it. And we would eat it live on camera. But we also did a twist where we would have them interacting with me, helping me cook the food, and then having a little competition between the two guys who were together. And I would actually be the judge, try the food, and you know, I'd have to pick a winner, which sometimes when you have a 7-foot tall linebacker looking at you, you don't want to really tell him that his food sucked. So
Exactly.
but it was fun. It was really fun. And again, you know, seeing what you and Pete do, being behind the camera, really brought a different perspective to things. You know, seeing how things are done on the boat, and you know, even the cooking segments were quite intense. So I mean, watching you growing up and seeing what you guys do, it's not easy. You know, watching is the easy part. Actually putting it all together is the hard thing. So
Yeah. You know,
fun.
even it's funny you say that, because even the YouTube stuff that looks so simple is not that simple. You see these guys that are real YouTube sensations, they're putting a lot of work in behind that camera that people have no idea. You know, it's not even just television. It's just, there's a lot to make a good product. There's a lot of work that goes into it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is live. I mean, when you're doing things live, like especially when we had these guys doing their cooking segment or their cook-off per se, you know, it was done live. Like they didn't have, you know, if we caught one fish, I only had that one fish to work with. So, you know, it's not like we could stop the camera and say, hey, you know, let's bring in another piece of fish and cook it properly. That doesn't happen, you know. So, you know, it was a lot of pressure on Sean to get out there and get us onto the fish, and so we can actually have a cooking segment, because you know, being on camera and doing a show, it all depended on the fishing really before we could even cook something.
Yeah.
Pete can relate to that, because when he decides he wants to do a fish preparation piece, or where he wants to fillet a fish or whatever, there's usually two of us on the other end having to slog the fish out of the water, enough fish for him to be able to get one good segment out of it. So he knows what you're talking about.
We did that this year, Antonio. We went to Lac Seul, and then Ange and Steve just kept bringing up these 16 to 18-inch walleye. I mean, I didn't even get a chance to fish. I just kept filleting. It was freaking hilarious.
The problem was you were trying to do it with one hand because you had a rum in the other hand. That was
That's the first time we ever tried. I don't know if anybody's ever tried Sortilege. It's a maple liqueurs up, but we tried a blueberry flavored Sortilege. Ange, myself, and Steve, we drank that bottle, and about 3 walleyes down, and it was gone.
It was incredible. So, all right. So that was then.
Yep.
And now is now.
Now
you are hosting. You are Fish du Jour on Fishing Canada, buddy.
I'm so excited. I mean, I remember watching Fish du Jour. Like I said, you know, I've been a fan of the show since I was a kid, and I saw earlier when you guys had the poll and you know, who got you into fishing, who got you motivated into fishing, and it was you guys. So I mean, it's a pleasure to be a part of the team, and I'm going to tell you this right now: Fish du Jour is not going to be like the '80s. We're going to bring some innovative stuff. Also, like for me, I'm thinking when I think Fish du Jour, I also think of what people can do or relate to when they're out on the water. I mean, a lot of people always say to me, you know, how can I fillet a pike? There's so many bones and why bones and stuff like this in a pike. Well, it's pretty simple to fillet a pike without any bones at all. It's just being showed the proper way. And I'm sure a lot of people watching have their own way of cleaning a fish. But, you know, to educate people on, you know, freshwater species, you know, walleye, perch, crappie, even trout and salmon, you know, it's different techniques, and people have their certain ways. But I think that showing people easy techniques that you can do, you know, right on the shoreline, you know, we're talking about shore lunches here. You know, people don't have, you know, a kitchen or, you know, a studio to prepare their fish when you're, you know, especially when you're out on the lake and you want to prepare a shore lunch. So I want to kind of make it and show there's different ways of doing things, cleaning fish, you know, my way, but also educating people on the easy way. And and like, I'm sure you guys have heard it before with the old pike thing, you know, how do I clean a pike, and how do I clean a walleye, and this and that. So I want to kind of bring that to fish du jour. Also, with a lot of the species that you guys are targeting every day, you know, I can easily bring in a tuna and show you what to do with a tuna, which would be probably a great episode. But
yeah,
you know, a lot of the fans and a lot of people that watch, like myself, would always like to see, you know, if you guys are targeting, you know, walleye, or if you're targeting crappie, or like what Gordy was talking about, the crappie, like huge right now. Love to prepare something with that, and I think the audiences will love it. And also, I'd love to hear what they'd like to see. You know, a lot of people that go out fishing, you know, they won't even keep fish because they don't even know what to do with it and what they're missing. So
right.
that's sort of what I'm thinking about with the fish du jour, and keeping it simple, but with a little bit of a Antonio flair, if I can say.
And
Nice.
Joe, if there's only one thing, what would it be? What's the most important thing that you can tell folks when they are looking to prepare a meal made with fish?
The most important thing, believe it or not, Ange, is a razor sharp knife. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people, when they get their fish and they're ready to clean their fish, a dull knife is it's a weapon, especially when you're cleaning fish that have heavy scales, or, you know, especially with the a round fish per se, like a flounder or a tuna. You know what I mean? If you don't have that razor sharp knife, you can absolutely destroy the fish. Even smaller fish like a perch or a crappie. Having a dull knife, if you're actually carving into that skin with a knife, because you can't pierce the skin, you're going to end up damaging the fish, or you probably won't get a pretty good fillet. So I would say the number one thing for me: be well prepared, razor sharp knife, bring a steel with you, sharpen your knife before you get going, and you'll see that it'll be a lot easier to clean your fish.
That right there, I want to see that on one of your segments, just how to sharpen your knives, the way you sharpen knives, because I think it would be very important. I think it'd be, I mean, let's be honest, that you're right. When you're filleting fish, when Ange and I are filleting fish, that sharp knife does a great job. It makes the job easy. So if everybody could learn from you how you sharpen your knife, I think that'd be a great piece.
Absolutely. And I mean, most guys, if you think about it, they'll keep their fillet knife in their tackle box. And I mean, I've done it, and it'll just sit there for, you know, years upon years, and you only pull it out when you actually get into some fish and you want to cut them up. But while it's sitting there, it's not doing any good. So just keeping a straight edge on that knife all the time, it'll make things a lot easier when you get to the shoreline.
You know what else we can do in that one? Antonio's going to give us brands. You can, because right now we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff, right? And there's no sponsors to give us shit or anything like that. Give us some good names that people can watch and say, oh, you know what? Antonio said these 5 knives. I'm going to look for one of those knives. So we got look at the ideas that are happening. I love it.
I was talking to our guys, Mike Mooring, who's going to work with you. He's going to manage and produce the pieces, and Jordan is going to help you out with them too. So we're going to try and do some live, and we're going to try and do some pre-recorded.
Absolutely.
So kind of a mixture of things. It's going to be kind of fun. We're also going to ask the audience to participate in that. We would like them to tell us what they'd like to see you prepare. Along with your own ideas, I'd like the audience to kick in. For example, audience members, if there is anybody out there, much like myself, that would like to see Antonio prepare carp, put your hand up and ask, because I think it'd be interesting to see if I don't even know, have you ever prepared carp?
You know what? That's a good question. I haven't prepared carp, but I do know, I actually know some family members that love it.
Okay.
And you know, I'm on Scugog as well. And, you know, in the early spring, I see those things jumping like crazy. And I always thought about, you know, bringing one in just to actually see it and test it. So that's one thing that I would love to do. I would love to prepare that. And, you know, if that's something that people would love to see, well, it's going to be a learning process for me with the audience, because I've never done it before. So that's challenging, which I love a challenge. So that's excited for that one.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to, and of course, as we move on in this new road that we're taking with this program, it will take, you know, some twists and turns, and there'll be changes, and there'll be additions and deletions, but we want to always maintain some form of fish preparation. So I'm only throwing that out there because I want you to be on your toes. Things change pretty quickly around here.
I'm on my toes every day, Ange. When I walk into that studio every day, there's no mistakes.
How's my buddy Ronnie Annabelle treating you?
Ronnie's doing great. We're like I said, we're finally back to work. He, he's one of the old boys. He's been around for a long time, and it's good to see that he's back to work. And he drives around the cast. He's an executive driver for most of the cast on the bigger shows like Star Trek Discovery, and a lot of people with his personality, Ron, and they request him when they come into the city, actors and stuff. They request him to drive them around, and such a great guy. And it's just so good to be back to work and to see Hollywood coming back to life, because it was so crazy last year. Netflix opened a studio here in Hamilton, actually. And right before COVID hit, they had so much material, so much stuff lined up that it was going to keep us all busy for a long time. So hopefully we're praying that we get back to it, and, excited to get back into the kitchen. That's what it's not even work for me when it comes to cooking. It's a passion. So bringing the passion to people on Fish du Jour is what I'm going to do, and to interact with people and to see what ideas that other people have and what you and Pete want to see. I'm just so pumped, and I can't wait to get started.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you who haven't seen this program, he is quite the stick as well. He can catch a fish or two, so it's really exciting. Antonio, welcome to the program. It's going to be a blast. We're going to have an absolute riot. I look forward to it, and keep that knife sharp, buddy.
It'll be sharp. I promise you that.
Awesome.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
See ya.
Antonio Maleka, who is going to be the host of Fish du Jour.
Pretty great.
I remember mine. What do you recall the Fish du Jours? What was the best Fish du Jour that you were ever involved with?
Well, the one I remember the most, but I don't even know if it ever made it to air, was Sheffy out there with Sheffy and the Belgian chef with the dog. And what was the dog, Fred or something like that? Or
his name was Peter McKay.
Yeah.
McVeigh.
Yeah,
He was at Merritt Lake Lodge in the mountains of British Columbia.
Right.
And his dog was a female black lab named Fred.
Yeah.
And my God, he called.
If we could ever find that, one, that would be a great little piece to intro Antonio with. We might be able to find it somewhere,
Do you remember what happened there? This guy was just outrageous. He called himself the Renaissance Man as soon as we got there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out, what that was all about. But then we soon found out, like, this guy was a genius. He was good at the most bizarre things. He was making split cane rods.
That's
fly
right.
rods.
Yeah.
Split cane fly rods. And if you don't know what a split cane fly rod is, it's got 8 or 12 sides. And the rods can be 10, 12 feet long. Made out of bamboo, but they're hand split in slivers that are exactly you got to see it.
How could he do that when he drank so much booze? How could he even make one of those rods?
That's what I was going to say. And he would usually, finish a fifth of scotch or a bottle of bourbon or a quart of wine on each rod.
Oh, yeah.
And, oh, my God, it was incredible. We were with him for like a week, and every day was an adventure. And then when it came to doing the Fish du Jour, because he was a chef, then it got really crazy. He got whacked right out. He'd been drinking so much. He started knocking bottles of stuff all over the kitchen. And oh, my God, it was insane.
One more for the Sheffy. Remember, one more for Sheffy.
Peter McVeigh, if you're out there, man, oh, man, I'd love to catch up with you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Anyways,
this is going to be good.
Not saying Antonio's going to be like that, but we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Antonio's going to be a great personality for this. You can just tell when you talk to him. You can see it right there. And I'm sure everybody watching saw his personality right there on camera, saying, wow, this guy's going to be good. Looking forward to it. So we're going to have fun.
Now, another, first of all, I've got all kinds of notes here, and you do, Pete, but we're supposed to be reminding folks to subscribe, because the only way that we can do this is to have subscribers. The more subscribers we have, the better the internet will treat us, right? They will move us up the totem pole, and we will get all kinds of preferential treatment from them. And the only way we can do that is with numbers. So I hate to beg, but I guess we'll have to beg. We need numbers. We need people to subscribe. We need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to fishingcanada.com, any place where you can connect with us. We need you to subscribe so that we can continue doing this stuff and staying connected with you.
Yes.
Now, one of the other segments that I want to talk about that we're going to bring on the program, or we're going to try.
Well, I think we can do a pretty good job of this. I think we got enough in the bank for this. I think
Peter and I had another career for a decade, actually a parallel career. While we were doing the Fishing Canada show, we did a TV program called The Outdoor Journal, and it was the precursor to Outdoor Journal Radio, which was on the Fan 590 for almost 3 decades. And we shot some incredible. We were so blessed with the opportunity of traveling around the world, doing these crazy, insane things that most people would only dream of, and getting paid for it. We were under contract with a company out of LA at the time. I think it was the Travel Channel. It wasn't a network.
Yeah.
And anyways, they hired us to go around the world shooting these crazy adventure programs, which are all the rage today. Today they're in vogue. When Pete and I did them, nobody, like, people look at him and say, "What are you doing riding a camel across the Sahara Desert? What are you, crazy?" But today it's the thing to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we shot a decade of that stuff. 9 seasons, 10 years.
Lots of footage. We have lots of footage from a lot of places. We traveled. We traveled the world. We had no lives. We literally were shooting Fishing Canada and that show at the same time, so we had no lives. I mean, it was a great life, but we had no home life. It was like it's a single man's game for sure, because it was, if you had a family, or Ange had a family at the time, it was tough to do, right? You come home and you spend a couple of days, but we were from New Zealand one time. You come home, but a day or two, then you go to Northwest Territories for another trip, and then you come back. It was nuts. It was absolutely insane, but great memories, and we got a lot of them on tape still, right? That's the nice part about it. We have a ton of memories to show people.
So now, at the time too, you have to appreciate the fact that the situation was quite different. Television was different. Audiences were different. There were a lot of restrictions that we had on us of things that we could and could not show and talk about on air. But we shot a lot of stuff that never made it there. So we're going to endeavor over the course of the next several months. We're going to try and get our boys to go into the archives and go mining for some gold, some real gold, and digitize some of the rarest stuff that never did get seen actually on television. There'll be stuff that did get seen. Obviously, we're going to show you a couple of clips here and there from the program itself, but we are going to endeavor to dig out the stuff that never made it to air, because back then it just was not kosher, if you will, to show some of the stuff that we captured on film. And I think you're going to have a blast. You're going to see a couple of young yahoos with mullets and hair and all kind, and
dark hair like they asked for earlier. It was dark back then.
But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be quite a chore, because the guys have to not only go into the archives and source the footage and view it on what we, by today's standards, call archaic methods, and then capture it, digitize it, and be able to format it so that we can view it today with our technology.
This stuff is still in standard definition. Like, we don't even have it in high definition, so the guys got to kind of up-res it as best they can, and it still looks like crap, but it's still good. I mean, we can still make out what it is. But back in those, you got to remember, it was a long time ago. We were shooting on beta tape. You know what I mean? Back then, so it's a lot different than digital right now. So.
By the way, just we're going to answer a bunch of questions that you're asking here in a minute, but just because its timing is perfect. Todd Dowell wants to know, are you guys filming shows at all? And we have not as of yet. We will be here in the weeks to come. It's very difficult to do because it's not just Pete and I involved. You know, there are several people that work on the program, and we just want to. We're not comfortable with telling the troops to buckle up. Here we go. Let's jump out of the plane together, right? So we will in the next few weeks. We will start producing Fish in Canada shows. So worry not. You will see new episodes of the Fish in Canada show sometime soon. I just can't tell you when at this point. So some of the episodes that we'll be talking about or seeing or sharing with you, I'm just going to try and recall one or two of them, but the Anaconda.
You're talking Outdoor Journal again now, right? Not Fish in Canada, Outdoor, yeah.
Some of the more memorable moments, Pete, when we were in the savannah in South America, chasing anacondas.
Oh my God!
You got to have a look at this lump on its head. This
you want to carry him?
Do I want to carry him? Carry him where?
Do you want? Do you?
Oh my God! Would you want me to?
Oh, damn, it's too heavy.
You got it? Oh my God! Oh my God! The power of this animal is unbelievable. Have you got her? Got a good hold of her?
God.
No, look at this.
You're feeling strong.
This is
Look
one
at the belly.
strong.
Look at that. That's the cloaca. That's
That is incredible. You got a good hold of that, huh?
Okay.
You got a good hold. Let's see if we can open it up. Whoa, incredible. This thing has got to weigh, what, 100 and, how many pounds?
Well, here it's not too heavy. Okay, we can
I got to put him down.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Wait till I move here.
I'm sorry, baby.
Sorry, sweetheart.
Wow,
Oh, that
just
was
an emotion.
fantastic.
Oh, God.
Fantastic.
Wow. How about those shorts, huh?
I can't believe you talk about that. A great big giant anaconda. You're talking about your shorts. That's awesome.
Her name was, and this is going to be fun for Pete and I because we're going to sort of try and recall the people and the situations and all the things that happen as we go along here. Her name, Pete, I remember it. Her name was Dr. Caterina Hernandez.
Oh, I thought it was Gabrielle. No?
Or Gabrielle Hernandez. Caterina was somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gabrielle Hernandez.
I remember the first. I don't remember her last name, but she was great. She was very smart.
Fantastic.
Remember the buddy's name? The guy that was helping you lift that up? What was his name? He was good. Look at your face. I never remember that.
Oh, if you never remembered that.
That would be good, right? That would have been good.
Real good. Yeah.
But that was a great trip. That's just a tiny portion of that whole trip, that anaconda thing. And Ange, on that show you did, there were 2 or 3 encounters of different anacondas. That was the biggest one, I think. But
so the way they find these animals, we got lucky with that particular one because as we were driving to another field to hunt for them, this one just happened to be sunning itself in the middle of the road, and so we made it. They made it easy. But the way they hunt them and the way we experience this hunting for anaconda, it's for research, not hunting to kill, but hunting to study. And the way they do it is they walk through the savannah. The savannah is about anywhere from 10 inches to 2 feet of water, and it's a marsh. It's mud with a lot of vegetation, and they walk through it barefoot. And when they step on an anaconda, they reach down and hope that they reach the part that's got the blunt end as opposed to the pointy end, because if you grab the pointy end, which is the tail, you better run real quick. So you have to reach down and kind of feel their way around in this murky, marshy water and just grab it just behind the head. And
that's insanity when you think about it. I used to love catching snakes as a kid and all that, but right now, to this day, I would still be super cautious with a garter snake that's 2 feet long. I would be like, imagine this friggin' anacondas like that. Like they're doing that without seeing their heads even. Like you said, that was an easy one.
That was easy. And they eat an animal called capybara, which is the largest rodent in the world. But it's a rodent, but it's a pig. It's the size of a normal, it's
like a furry pig.
Ready for market pig.
With the head of a beaver. It looks like it's like a Canadian beaver, great big ugly head on it, and jump and swim and dive into the water. They're the fastest. No wonder they're fast, living around those anacondas and crocodiles, I guess, their whole life. But oh my God, what a trip that was. It's great memories. Wow.
And they eat them whole, And what they do, they eat them and then they regurgitate the skeleton. And so as we're walking, doing this episode and we're getting closer and closer to the hot zones, you start seeing capybara skeletons all over the place where they go, my God, what are we doing?
Graveyard. Getting puked out by a snake. Oh,
we did a lot of snake shows in the 10 years that we did that episode. We did rattlesnakes and we did all kinds of great episodes. And hopefully we can pull some out of the fire for you. What other episode? Do you remember anything you saw?
Yeah. How about a lot of winter stuff? We did lots of winter stuff. Fun stuff.
Whoa! Whoa!
Oh, medic!
Yeah, okay, so we had a little fun along the way.
I remember that because I was standing right beside you there shooting some stills trying to stay up with that toboggan. You were ripping on that thing, man. But that face plant, that might be the best face plant in snow ever in the history of Canadian television right there. That was good.
Where was that?
Purcell Lodge in BC, right?
Purcell
I believe. Beautiful place. I don't know if that place is still going. What a beautiful place for skiing and winter sports. Like
and
that.
it was telemark skiing, right? That they did there, if I remember correctly. That was
they did that cross country combination with something else. Is that what that is? Yeah. They were very big in that. So a very cool trip there. Rocky Mountains.
Pete mentioned taking pictures. That's he did a lot of. In fact, he was the photographer on all of those shoots, as well as hosting segments as well. Great moments there too.
Oh yeah. Like this one.
Or not. All right. That's the Peter Gator one that we're supposed to throw to, Mike.
Oh.
Crocodilo! He got ants on his eyes. Should I get them off for him?
Would you?
Clear them off for him. Poor guy. I feel sorry for him. This is really smart, isn't it? Crocodile out here and I'm kicking the boat. Big ass crocs. And it looks like a pretty good sight. Oh, he's huge! Look at his tail. I'm gonna scare him. Watch this. Oh my God. I think I got a shot of his tail. I think.
Nice here, buddy. Hey, were those cormorants?
Yeah, I know. You see that? I know. That, by the way, those were crocodiles. Those were long, skinny nose. I don't know if they're when they weren't caimans. I can't remember if it was an Orinoco croc. That's what they were. They're called an Orinoco crocodile.
Big.
That was the mullet man. There was a good shot of the hair there, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. That last one, just to let everybody know what happened there. So I'd stopped the boat further out, but I was in a flat bottomed aluminum. So like what do you call it, duck boat or
jumbo.
Yeah, jumbo. And they're very drifty. There's no drag to them at all in the water. So I stopped 15 feet out from this croc, and I was got that long lens. That's a 200 millimeter lens. So I'm sitting there getting some shots, but the wind is behind my back, and I stopped the boat, and it just kept drifting closer and closer. And I didn't want to blow it because I wanted to get closer to get the shots, but literally I drifted right over top of that croc. And that is one of the, I like to say, scared the shit out of me the most in my life is that right there, because when that croc took off, because that was a big animal, that was a big crocodile. So when he took off, like the whole boat literally just rocked like that. And I guess I'd be safe. I could say I was safe-ish, but when you're in a situation like that, your heart is just going insane. You know what I mean? But again, great memories, great pictures. Maybe if we do something on that piece, I'll get some of the photos that I took on that shoot, because it was, you're talking about the croc's eye. It was that close. It was very cool. So
one of the other things, I mean, is we interacted with animals an awful lot, both wild, uncaged animals and some caged animals, as you're going to see here in a minute. we also met an awful lot of weird, bizarre characters. And one of them was this gentleman in Costa Rica on the Pacific coast at the mouth of the Rio General, I think, wasn't it? Or Colorado.
Rio, yeah, something like the Rio Grande, maybe.
Or Colorado.
Rio Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, and he had the lodge, the Tarpon Lodge. Archie Fields. Tarpon Adventure or something. An old Tarpon Lodge from way back. This young lawyer from LA bought it, and he was there, like he was kind of hiding out. He was sort of, didn't want to be like, it was the weirdest thing. But if you wanted to hide somewhere, this would be the perfect place to hide. And he had this incredible, the only way I can describe it was a collection of animals that were
zoo. He had a little private zoo.
A private zoo, but these animals were all like his buddies, and like it was just bizarre. And here's one of the things that we saw there.
Okay, well, I'll hold it from you. We can do it any time, but they love a good smoke.
They love a good smoke.
This guy's a refugee from the lab test. He will. He doesn't want to share it right now. Now, he's gonna, what he does, he sits there and he sniffs. Watch it.
Oh, little toe cuffing. That is incredible. Oh, super toe.
The ultimate.
Oh, you little bandit.
Oh, yeah, you smell that? That's pretty sexy, huh?
What the hell? No, you think about, if you did that nowadays and somebody said, you get crucified, because obviously that monkey was addicted to nicotine, right? The only reason that thing is smoking is because it's got an addiction. It doesn't realize it doesn't say the smoke tastes good or smells good. There's no way it tastes or smells good. That freaking thing was addicted to nicotine.
By the way, I think Calvin is sticking up for the cormorants down in South America there. It says there's 41 species of cormorants worldwide.
Hopefully that crocodile knocked out one of those full species and there's only 40 left, Cal, okay? No offense. Oh, God.
Yeah, it was a bizarre. We were there for, I don't know, 3-4 days, and there wasn't a moment that I didn't feel that this was the most bizarre place.
He had a tapir in there, that big tapir, a pet that walked around and was like as friendly as anything. And it was big. I think it was a couple 100 pounds. He had, do you remember those fish? He had machaca.
With the teeth.
With human teeth. It looked like, I think there was like human teeth or whatever like that. They had them all swimming underneath the docks and all that kind of. Oh, what a crazy place that was.
Anyway, we're going to try and resurrect as much of that old footage as we can, and there'll be some really lighthearted stuff, some funny stuff, some curious stuff, some bizarre stuff.
Some dramatic. The one scene that you and I both talked about the other day. We'll have to put all kinds of warnings out there, because it hurt us even watching it the other day, but it's a dandy. I mean, it's something part of reality, I guess. So,
but we couldn't show that stuff back in the 80s and 90s, right? And so now it's an opportunity to be able to get some of that stuff out. We got a couple of more clips we'll just share with you real quick here.
cool. I love that music too. Hey, I don't know where we dug that up. That was cool music. That was very cool. That'd be fun. Hopefully, the audience let us know if you're gonna are you anticipating some good. We got some good stuff coming up. So just to let you know. And it's
yeah. What we're going to try and do is post one episode, I think, a week on YouTube after we do something with it here, show the behind the scenes, if you will, talk about it. Pete and I will dissect it. And then we'll put it on YouTube in its entirety, the way it aired on CBC and the Travel Channel at the time, right? So
yeah, that'll be good. Get them up there. People need to see this stuff. This is and it's a great vehicle to see it on the internet, right? So nice and free for you.
Are we going to do the polar bear thing or not? Michael, what do you think?
Not tonight. Not tonight. No.
Okay.
I can't.
All right. I'm just asking.
Okay.
I want to remind everybody again to subscribe, share, do all that good stuff to help us grow.
Please.
Please. You don't all have to send $5, by the way, like we did. Stay positive. Thank you. Stay positive.
That was cool. That was cool.
I don't know how you do that. I wonder how you do that. I got to go on YouTube and see how that's done. But apparently, you can
send yourself some more money. Why not? Right? What the hell?
So before we call it a day on our first prime time event, a couple of things that we need to talk about. First of all, we will do some questions here in a few moments.
I was going to say you're missing the whole question and answer thing there, bud. So go ahead. You're good. Go ahead.
You want to do that, or let's set it up now. Start with the questions. We'll answer them in a moment. But we want to be right. Is that cool? Because we want to talk about the Garmin new lineup ice fishing electronics. The blog that you put up. You want to tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's look at Canada as a very, very unique situation, and that obviously the ice fishing is a huge part of our fishing year, right? Our whole season. So, and Garmin, we put a post up on our website, and so it's half of us and half from Garmin, just telling you about the array of ice fishing equipment available. And it's not all expensive. Everybody's always thinking, oh my God, it's so expensive. Well, it's not expensive. The entry level stuff is not expensive. You know what I mean? If you want to get a full live scope system, absolutely. You're going to put some money into it, but you're going to catch the hell out of fish too by using it. So if you go to the website, you're going to check that piece out. And it's kind of informative just to get you in that mind frame of the electronic world in all fishing will help you. Okay. If you are not using electronics when you're on the water anytime, you're at a disadvantage beside somebody that does. That's all I can say. Really, it's that true.
Without question. And you're not fishing if you don't have those eyes below the surface. Sure. Yeah. We posted an interesting article. Oh, I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago. And it was just one of those, hey, that's kind of cool. Why don't we do that? And it was a top 5 list of shore fishing here in Ontario. And it went absolutely insane. It went crazy. The people were checking it out from all over the place. So it prompted us to say, well, you know what? Maybe we should do the same in all other areas. And the reason it's so popular is because a lot of anglers, especially new anglers, don't have a boat and they don't know where to go fishing. So to give them a spot that they can actually walk to with their kid or themselves or their friend or wife is a real gift. So we're going to try and do it right across Canada. We're going to pick a province on a regular basis, and we're going to research, talk to the locals, and together with them, we're going to come up with the top 5 shore fishing destinations in each province. And Alberta is the one that just went up recently, right, Pete?
Yep, just went up. I mean, we collaborated with Ray Colrus from the Real Angling Adventures out there. And Ray, we've been working with Ray in Fishing Canada television shows for many years now. And Ray is just hardcore fishing. The guy just knows fishing so well, and he knows the areas so well. Like Ray guides out of a boat, but he also does a lot of shore fishing too. He has to. That's part of his business as well. And so in collaboration, I mean, the couple of the big ones there are the Bow River and the Saskatchewan River. They run through both cities, Calgary and Edmonton, and they're they're major fisheries that you can fish from shore and all that. But then we got 3 more little lakes in there that we worked with Ray on, and it's good information. You know what I mean? Some of them we show some accommodations, etc., the species, what we'd like to use, what Ray likes to use, etc., etc. So they're great little pieces, and it's just good information for people that are stuck, that don't have a boat. It's so nice to have an idea.
And you're not, you don't just, it's not just good for the locals, but, for all of us, because as we're changing, things are going to change. Listen, anybody that is convincing themselves that things are going to go back to the way they were 100% here in the next few months is living in a fantasy world. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter is that things are going to change. We are going to change. Our habits are going to change, and our fishing is going to change. I see us spending more time in Canada. I see us traveling more for fishing than we ever have before. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to build up an inventory of all these great shoreline fishing spots that our fishingcanada.com audience can have access to, that you can download, and as you're making trips to different parts of the country someday, different parts of the province as well, you can access these great little places that you can just pull over on the side of the road and throw a rod out and bang off some fish. So that's the purpose behind these, as you'll see us doing them from all parts of Canada as top 5s. So,
and like Dan says very quickly, if you're visiting Calgary or you're visiting Edmonton, there's 2 suggestions right there. You just go on our website, take a look, and say, "Oh my God, we've got little spots that you can go and fish from there." So yeah, great for not just Albertans, for everybody.
Yeah, a great article I just had the pleasure of reading on our site on fishingcanada.com by Kevin Callan, the Happy Camper. He's our camping expert, and wow, he opened up some tremendous terrain.
I haven't read it yet. It's good.
Speaking for me,
yeah.
As he unlocks the secrets to discovering and using crown land to go fishing and camping on. And most of us don't even know. If you look at the map, and you have to go to Kevin's article to access the government site. Of course, the government, in typical government fashion, they create these URLs that are 10,000 letters long. There isn't not a chance in hell that anybody, even with I don't care how good you are, remember, you can't memorize these URLs. It's almost like they do it so that you don't access these things. And I think this is one of them, because if you go to this site that Kevin put you on in this blog, you are going to, your hair will stand on end to know that there is so much crown land available to all of us to use for camping and fishing and hiking and all this stuff that you had no idea. And it's all around you.
That's interesting. I like that.
It's incredible. So that's on fishingcanada.com. Kevin Callan, the Happy Camper, his blog is under.
It's written on the sideline there. The boys just put that. They put it up there. So fishingcanada.com/camping on crown land. Basically, it's written over there in the comments. So. Oh,
they roll. Okay, put it there. Perfect. Because I have no idea where the hell I am here at any given time, so I need guidance.
You want a compass? I got a Garmin GPS handheld at my office, buddy. I'll get you that. Set that right beside you there. You'll figure out where you are real quick. Okay.
We have top 5 list, a new Fishing Canada top 5 list detailing our picks for the most effective lake trout baits.
Yeah, baby. Now that's not up yet. It has to go through one more proofreader in our group here. And once that great proofreader says good to go, she's going to be up and gone. And what are you smiling about? You're kind of smirking there. It's going to be good. If you're a lake trout angler, it's from everything from little lakers to under the ice to gigantic Northwest Territories 40-pound monsters and everything in between. So we've compiled what our Angelo's and my best experience that we've had with lake trout. And we caught a lot of lake trout. We don't show it. I mean, we don't do a lot of lake trout shows, but we've caught a lot of lake trout in our day between shooting and non-shooting. And I think we have a pretty good little lineup of baits in there that'll certainly teach you and give you some ideas.
All right, let's take some questions. We'll take them.
That's the one.
There we go. I
Hey,
love it.
we've had a bunch of questions right from when Gordy was on right through. So I don't know if Mikey wants to start throwing some up, or we can look at some. Here we go. Calvin, what is the furthest north you have fished, and what body of water? Wow, we might be different. You and I might be different on that one. I don't know.
They are definitely. Yeah.
No, we're the same. Cambridge Bay.
Were you with me on that?
Yes, sir, I was.
Wow. So we were 92 miles south of the magnetic North Pole.
Yeah.
And we had and I don't mind telling you, not embarrassed to tell you, we had a government float plane at our disposal with a pilot who was very familiar with the area. And our task was to drop down into these little puddles of water on the Cambrian Shield, I guess it would be up in that area. Anyways, it's up in the booties, and see if there was fish in them. And that's what we did for a week. We just flew.
So awesome. The one place that freaked me out the most was this little, it was a little river that Ann shot a piece on out of a little dinghy. And the weird part was we landed the float plane on this river. Like it was a creek. It was like a big creek, and he lands his friggin' float plane in one little spot, touched down. And remember that one hole? There was this real fast water too. And Ann just got in this one little pocket, and he just boom, boom, lake trout after lake trout. And they were all like 15, 17, 20, 22 pounds. It was unbelievable. They're getting them every cast on that shoot. So that was crazy. And then the char, we shot a char shell. I shot an Arctic char shell. We landed into an inland lake in there. Or is that where we landed on the tundra? One of them, we did everything. Remember, we landed on the tundra with that great big wheels on that otter too. And we just pounded the Arctic char in that lake. It was but Calvin there wasn't a single body of water. It was a bunch of bodies of water. It was Cambridge Bay. If you look it up on Canada on the map,
Victoria Island, right? The big island north of Canada. Victoria Island, the very northern tip of it.
Yeah, north of Northwest Territories. So that's way up there somewhere.
What's your biggest bass pulled through the ice? Wow.
I don't even know if I've caught a bass through the ice. I know my kid has caught, I was with Cole, took him out one time, and he got like a 4.5 pounder smallmouth through the ice accidentally. We threw it back, but I
can honestly say I have not. Now, obviously, we've not put ourselves in the position to, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, it is legal in certain parts of the states. In the U.S., it's legal, and maybe in Canada, if there's no season, right? I'm sure there's maybe some places. Yeah, maybe. So yeah, that's right. Up northern Ontario. So, but I've never caught a big bass through the ice. That's for sure. So, but I got a 5 pounder lately.
Timmy. If barometer is below 100,
the hell's that mean?
Too low to expect fish to bite, based upon previous Q&A.
Well, Tim, I plead the fifth on that because I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I have the only 100 I know is only
100. I don't think it's good for me to go fish below 100. Is it, Tim? Should I be fishing below 100?
What does it mean?
Huh?
Tell me what it means.
Well, Tim will tell us.
Okay. I don't know either.
I don't think we're going to be alive if it's below 100.
He just stumped us. Way to go, Timmy. You got a good one there, buddy. We got to give you that $5 we already got donated to us. So. Oh, well.
Biggest breakthrough in fishing that's changed the way we fish in the last few years. I think this is a no-brainer. It's electronics.
Absolutely. And it's ongoing. You say the last few years, but it's an ongoing thing. They're just coming up with new ideas, new ways, new methods. It's just to us, to Ange and I both. I mean, we were playing around.
The last 5 years have been real breakthroughs. Every year, you can go back 5 years and then 4 years and 3 years, and every year there's been another breakthrough. It seems like all of a sudden we discovered something, and now that we have harnessed the technology, every year we're getting better and better because now it's just nuts. The last 5 years,
and even the older technology, they're still developing that to better, like side finding, for instance. Now you're talking about ultra high definition on your transducers. Now you're seeing these pictures out there 50 feet away from your boat that you can identify almost everything that's out there. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, this is crazy. Now, we will say there's a learning curve. Okay, you need to study your electronics. You want to get good on electronics, Study them. Don't just look at your fish finder and say, oh, this looks like a good spot, and then start casting. That's not the way you learn. You got to read your electronics. You got to study them, use them to the best that you can, and sometimes put the rod down, have a coffee, and then start fishing afterwards. But get a little bit of a session going every time you're out there with your electronics, and you will find all of a sudden you go, wow, I didn't know that did that. That's cool. I like that. So.
Yeah, I would think that's the biggest in the last 5 years. Before we answer that, Tim said that they were up north last week, and they up north of Sudbury, and they had 99.2 kilopascals. Holy cow, and no fish. Well, that probably answered that question, Tim. Like I said, I shouldn't even be out in that. Okay, I'm napping it, but when it hits about 90, I'm gone. So back, Mike, what did you have? Sorry. Oh, Mike's mad at you.
Mike's mad at you. I don't blame him.
Here we go. You guys ever fished North Algonquin Park before? Ever fished North Algonquin? You're talking through Cedar, the gate at the very top, I'm assuming. The answer is yes. I've done 2 trips out of the north, and I can't remember the specific lakes that we portaged into, a series of them, but yeah, I've done Algonquin from the north, from the west, but mostly from the south.
How many lakes do you think you fished in Algonquin Park? What do you think? What do you figure? How many bodies?
But it's a greater number of the ones I've gone through, paddled through.
Right.
Probably actually fished 50, maybe.
That's a lot, though. That's a lot.
But paddled through, man, oh man, like tons.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them you just don't fish, right?
Any ideas how many lakes?
You're heading into someplace, right? The thing about the park,
Right.
for us anyways, is that you're not just out there meandering. You've got to go, and every leg of that portage is timed, and you've got to be at a certain point in order to make it to a certain point, right? Nightfall and stuff. So we didn't diddly daddle around.
Yeah. And water travel is the fastest way, I'm assuming, right? It's a lot faster than carrying, isn't it?
What's that?
Water travel will be the fastest way of transportation too. Once you get on there, you cut right across a straight line, right?
Well, no, water travel in a lot of cases is the only transportation.
Yeah, but you got to walk. That's what I'm saying. If you had to walk around those lakes like that, you'd never do it.
Well, you couldn't. It's not like there's a trail around all. It's not like it's down. It's not the zoo, right? They're all there's portage routes that are cut through the woods that you use to portage from one lake to another. The only way across that lake is by water.
Yeah.
And you're going to the trail on the other end, right? The portage trail that's clearly
trail, right? Basically from one trail to another, right?
Yeah. So
oh, man. Any idea how many lakes are in Algonquin Park? I have no idea.
I used to know this. I can't remember, but I used to have that number.
Would it be like hundreds or thousands or
hundreds that are actually documented.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a lot of water in the park that's probably not even named. But what a great place. Doug Atkinson, he's an old radio guy, not old in age, but one of our radio listeners. My 2 sons and I are fishing in Sparrow Lake and haven't had great. I got a story about Sparrow Lake, by the way. Haven't had great success. Could you offer some pointers and bait that we could use for smallies and pike? There you go, Peter.
Well, I would think with your kids, and depending on if they're kids or if they're adults. If they're kids, I would highly suggest you get some kind of live minnows, sucker minnows, anything like that. This time of year, you can't go wrong with minnows. Make sure you buy them local, because that's the law now. You have to buy them locally to the area that you're in. You can't import them. You can't bring them from Toronto all the way up to Sparrow Lake or something like that. And I would say get some minnows, and I'd run them on simple rigs from anything from a split shot rig with a little split shot and that hook from the smallmouth. You probably need a leader for your pike if you want to put a leader on like that. You can run a drop shot rig, and just a lot of live bait rigging with a drop shot, where the weight is below, the hook is above, and that minnow is hooked through the lips. I would say if I was taking my kids out to catch fish, smallies and pike, I would use nice 4 to 6 inch size sucker minnows this time of year, or whatever local minnows you can get.
I have nothing to add to that, Mr. Bowman. That is, especially on Sparrow. Sparrow is a crystal clear body of water. And when I say crystal clear, you would think that somebody just filled it out of a tap. It's that clear. And so when you're confronted with crystal clear water, your bait's got to be as natural as possible. And what better, more natural looking bait than natural looking bait? That's real minnows.
Exactly.
Especially this time of year, for sure. But I have a story. It's a brilliant lake, by the way. But I have a story about that.
Let's hear it.
So
I'm gonna like this, aren't I?
I hope my wife is not watching. But
Okay.
anyway, I got to take a chance on it. Anyways, so the year would be 1988 or so, and we had just purchased. I had just gone to a show in Toronto, a dive show, and this company was there with an underwater robotic camera. And I ended up buying it, our very first robotic aquacam. And so I was scheduled to go away for the weekend with my lovely wife because it had been a hectic schedule. And so I promised her that this coming weekend, it's just you and me, baby. Okay? You and me and the whole weekend, nothing else. So that was the week prior. Well, I went to this trade show and this camera begged for me to buy it. So I bought this camera, and Todd Monroe, who was our cameraman, Toddy, he said, "My God, we got to take it out." He said, "We got to go out this weekend." I said, "Yeah, of course we do. I didn't buy it for it to sit here. Of course we're going to go out this weekend." And then it dawned on me, I had a date already with the Countess the weekend that I'd been promising her for I don't know how long. So now I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. Right? Toddy said, "Hey, we got to get this thing out in the water because we got to shoot next week. If we don't water test this thing, we can't even take it on the shoot. We got to get it out in the water." So he's pressuring me. So I finally give in, and I decided to take my lovely wife to Sparrow Lake because I knew it was crystal clear and a perfect place to take the underwater camera. And by the way, Todd is going to join us. Our camera guy. Yeah. I know it's weird, eh? Yeah. So, anyways, he's going to join us, and he's going to bring an underwater camera thing. We'll have fun. It's going to be a blast. Anyways, it wasn't a blast. It was.
Oh boy.
One of the many times that I got the cold shoulder for about a month. But yeah, so we tried the very first fish can aquacam on Sparrow Lake, and my God, the fish in that lake that we saw with that camera, because
really? Eh?
Miles,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's a good lake for crappies too, Doug. If you're even those live minnows. Now, Doug said his sons are adults, so I'd still recommend if you got nothing to worry about, if you're not worried about throwing artificial baits, take the minnows. Go bigger. You got your sons are adults. Go to 6 and 8 inch minnows. I'm telling you right now, you will clean house with those things.
It's fun. It's fun.
Under floats, you can do it so many different ways.
The only thing is, if you're going to be releasing the fish, it obviously does pose a bit of a challenge. You're going to have to stay on top of it. Meaning that you've got to get that hook set right away. You can't let them swim away and swallow the bait because then it becomes a disaster.
Good point. Yep, for sure.
So.
For sure.
Top 3 pike baits.
Oh, great.
Mr. Bowman?
Good. No, I want you to do this one first because I want to go after you on this one.
So number 1 for me, and it is because I always tie it on. If we're going way up north and we're fishing early in the year, and we know that we've got giant northern pike in relatively shallow water, I like throwing those big, huge tubes, big white or smoke-colored floating tubes, and they're massive. They're made for muskie. Water wolf, right? Isn't it?
Deserano. Water wolf bass magnet makes them.
Oh my God, these things are massive. You can get them up to like 10, 12 inches, and they're like this thick. I mean, they're incredible too. But the floating ones have got a cork piece stuck in the center of the tube. So you fish it almost like a top water bait, and but when you let it drop, it will just has this wonderful subtle little drop, and then oh my God, you pull it and it just splashes into me. It is just a wonderful bait.
It's pretty cool action when they drop. It's pretty cool, eh?
Oh my God, they fight for it. That pike fight over it. We have seen pike injure themselves fighting over this bait. That would be number one for sure for me. A great jerk bait to me is also a wonderful bait for pike. Probably underutilized by most pike anglers, I would think. But those soft body, like the Castaic lures, those soft body plastic with depending on whether it's a square tail or round tail, some big flashy tail that you can swim on a jig, like a swim jig, is got to be number 3 for sure.
You know what? I'm going to do in 1, 2, 3, but I will agree with swim baits. I love swim baits for pike. Lately, I've been throwing them a lot, and oh my God, they are effective. And like Ann says, you got a boot tail, there's all kinds of different tails. Just experiment with them. I mean, sometimes the tail action isn't so important. Sometimes it is. So you play around. More like size, width, and color a lot of times can make the difference too. But swim baits are great. I still love some kind of an inline spinner. Okay, and I'm not talking about the big musky stuff. I mean, a musky killer is not a big spinner. It's got a number 5 blade or something like that. So but even number 3s and 4s, maps, they still catch pike after pike after pike. You know what I mean? It's unreal, and especially early in the year. We did a piece on that. It's on our website about early season pike, and that to me that was one of the number 1 baits in early season. Is a nice number 3 maps, no dressing or anything like that. So that's high up on my list. Swim baits that. And you know what? I'm gonna throw in that spoon, that good old spoon. I love spoons, and there's something about pike and lake trout and spoons that just go so well together. And Ange and I have tried to get away from spoons. No, I'm not throwing spoons. That's what we did for 20 years in a row. We got to find something different, and you end up going back to that spoon and catching a fish. You know what I mean? Like a 5 of diamonds, a red and white daredevil, something like that. You can't.
And for my money, one of the sleeper baits in this whole conversation, now that you've gotten into spoons, one of the sleeper baits in this whole conversation is the Johnson Silver Minnow in that gigantic size.
Yeah,
they've got a big 6-inch that's available in probably a half a dozen really vivid wild colors. Well, you put a chunk of I don't care what on the back of it, any kind of plastic tail or trailer, the bigger the better. And you throw that out over top of pike, and I don't care if they're in 4 feet or 24 feet. You throw that over top of pike and swim that properly. It's the end. It's the end. It's like out. You know?
Yeah.
Chips. So all of those will work for you.
I'll add in one more quick one: a soft jerk bait. That is work. That a 5-inch, 6-inch soft jerk bait can be super delicate because of the suspending.
Brand?
Leave it at that. You know?
Brand?
Oh, you know what? It doesn't really matter to me. Like a flapping shad, a Yamamoto D shad, stuff like that. They all work. Unweighted, just a little bit. You gotta have your leader on there because you need it for pike. But because just so that bait just goes.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm going towards you, be like that. Drop it.
And by the way, we both did you notice, was it that obvious? Pete and I both went with the assumption that you were asking for top baits for casting to pike.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, right? If we're trolling it could be, although some of those that we mentioned would be used for trolling as well. But if you're trolling it opens up a whole other group of baits that we won't get into right now.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered it.
Whoa, great question.
That is a good question.
That's a really good question. On 1-piece versus 2-piece rods. Well, if this was 10, 12 years ago, I'd say hands down the 1-piece without any question for a number of reasons, not the least of which would be the sensitivity factor, because it was always our belief in the industry that we created these wonderful pieces of graphite that were very sensitive, and the whole idea was that you wanted to feel that tick of the fish biting almost before it even happened. So the more sensitive the rod, the better angler we became, or so we thought. And by cutting that rod blank in pieces, it would dull that sensitivity. And therefore, you're taking a great blank, cutting it up. It's like wire. So like electrical wire. You know, every time you put a connector in with another piece of wire, your power is going to be drawn, or you're going to get less power at the other end, right? You're going to interrupt the flow of power. Well, that was our philosophy in rods. And I think for the most part, for a couple of decades, it was probably true. But having said all of that, things have changed over the last 10, certainly the last 6 years. And I think there are a tremendous number of quality rods out there right now that are 2-piece and 3-piece that I fish that I think are excellent rods. Excellent rods. So I'm not afraid of picking up a 2-piece rod anymore, but it really depends on the quality and the brand, obviously.
Yeah.
So
the downfall to a 2-piece rod, quite honestly, is the lack of choices, because there's so many 1-piece rods out there. You can get exactly what you want. I want a 7'2", medium heavy. That tip's got to be nice, little soft tip, et cetera, in a bait casting. But I want lots of backbone because I'm going to be setting the hook hard, et cetera. So there's such a great choice of 1-piece rods that it makes it tough to move to a 2-piece rod as well. The other thing about 2-piece rods, Hans, is versus like our flipping sticks. All the flipping sticks that I still use today, they're telescopic to a point. That's kind of a 2-piece rod, right? It's not one solid rod. So, but God, that thing works great. I've caught thousands of fish on my flipping stick.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised? I've asked this of myself numerous times. Are you surprised that the rod manufacturers, and I'm not talking about any one in particular, but all of them didn't pick up on that whole flipping rod telescopic concept?
The musky guys are doing it now. The musky, because they're making such long rods, they're making 9-footers and stuff like that. So they can make it fit in a locker. That's the reason they're doing it, to make it fit in a rod locker, right?
But I'm talking about, a 6 foot, 6'6", 7-foot rod. That could shrink up to, say, 5 foot by pushing it down into the butt section. I think would be fantastic, rather than make it 2 separate pieces.
Yeah.
You would think that they would have come up with that, unless there's a reason they can't. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, because that's the way the flipping stick used to be made. I don't know if maybe they still do that now. I don't even know. But the modern day, flipping pitch and stick. But back in the 7'6" flipping action had that telescopic that you lose a foot and a half. You could store it. Then it's very easy to store, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't break at that butt section. They might break at the tip. They won't break at the butt section. So, anyways, there you go on that one.
All right. Are we done?
We must be almost done. Wednesday. Hey, Steve Robiney. Hey, Steve.
How are you, buddy?
Nice.
Yes, next live stream is next Tuesday.
A week today at 6 o'clock again, I guess. So
Yeah. So in the meantime, what you guys could do, if you could help out the boys behind the scenes here, if you could just let them know how this time works out for you and how this day works out for you. Obviously, depending on how many of you say, no, this sucks, versus how many of you say, yeah, this is great. But unless we hear, something to the contrary, we will be back next Tuesday.
Yeah.
With all of the featured segment hosts that we talked about today, and then some. And we'll be back.
Cool. Looking forward.
All right. I want to remind folks that the Fishing Canada show this coming weekend. Oh, this is your show that you did with Will. Tell folks about that, Pete.
Oh, the carp show. That was awesome. We took a little trip. It was as local as you can get for Ange and I. Our location here, we're in Southern Ontario, we're in Oshawa, GTA. I went right to Lake Scugog. There's Lawrence Bendandy has a place on Scugog. We basically, Lawrence, I think he baited it up. No, he didn't even bait it up. Will baited it up that morning. I got there. We caught the hell out of a bunch of carp. And Will Machette, he's a great carp angler, and he just gives a lot of tips. The guy is never at a stop for words, that's for sure. He can talk it up, but he's a very intelligent carp angler. It's a good little show to watch. He's got lots of good tips in that, and of course it's entertaining because we get these fish, these giant fish that are constant. Will gets one, pulls him around a dock or two, and he chases it around. So there's some entertainment factor in there too. So it's a cool show. Hopefully you check it out.
That are it, folks. I want to remind you all that as we've been harping at you, and I'm sure the boys have been harping at you here on the message board as well. We need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. If you haven't already done so, please do so. We muchly appreciate it. Also, share, like, do whatever you need to do to tell everybody that you are on the Fishing Canada team, and that will bode well for all of us. Also want to send out a very special thank you once again to Stay Positive, who went on our YouTube channel and he donated $5. I love it. I didn't find out what that's all about.
I have no idea.
But apparently that's something that's being done out there. On behalf of the entire Fishing Canada Live team, Michael Mooring, Jordan, Stephen, nice try. Sarah, nice try, Stephen.
You got it in there. You got it in there. Good work,
Stephen Nedzwicki, and Peter Ball.
Oh, wait. Don't. I got to get Steve. He sent me the pictures. Just wait. Give me 2 seconds. This is Steve Nedzwicki. Okay, I'll pre this is when you can't fish with your buddies Ange and Pete during COVID. This is what happens to you. Now, this is a pre-warning. This is pipe tobacco and not pot. So I'll just show them one at a time here. Can you see?
Oh my God!
Wait. There's another one.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
There.
Oh
and he's got more. That's it. Sorry.
Oh my God. We got to put those up on the site.
That is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Stevie, you rock, brother. I would have never thought you could throw a crop of hair like that on, but that is so awesome.
You are the man. Guys, I want you to change his headshot on My Outdoor Life, the blog section. I want that to be starting ASAP. Okay.
Thanks for sending that, Stevie, buddy. You made my day when you said that the other night. That's so awesome.
So once again, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Go Jays, go. Hopefully they're winning by now. And we will endeavor to catch up with you on Tuesday coming up. Take care.
Carp are so awesome. They're so strong and so big and burly. Come on, baby. Light my fire. Look at that little girl.
Absolutely incredible.
Welcome to the Fishing Canada Carp Cup.
This could be exciting.
There's more people talking carp in this country now than there were a year ago, and it's growing by the day.
And we have mayhem going on here. Carp fishing, man, you gotta love it.